What museum would you like to visit? Do you like chocolate? No. What is your favorite wild animal? I have no idea. Hi there, it's Asia. If any IELTS speaking questions catch you off guard and you don't know what to say, this video is for you. Right now, I'd like to share with you some tips and techniques that will help you answer any question. Okay? Let's get started. In the IELTS speaking test, you're asked general questions about your life experiences and opinions. Examiners are not trying to ask you anything controversial, and they're not expecting any specialist knowledge either. There are times, however, when you may be asked about something you have no experience of, or when your answer is a simple no. How do you deal with situations like this? Will tell the examiner a lot about your ability to use English. For band 6 or 7 score, you will be expected to speak at length. And for an 8 or 9, you will be expected to speak fluently. But what about if you don't know the answer, or the answer is no? The first thing to remember when speaking English, and this is not just in exam situations, never use one-word answers. Native speakers, especially in the UK, only use one-word answers if they are upset, annoyed, and want to be unfriendly. For example, if you ask your partner, "Are you mad at me?" and they reply, "No," the answer is clear. Using one-word answers even has a name. It's called grey rocking. So if you're asked, "Do you like playing sport?" don't just say no. The bare minimum you should reply is "Yes, I do," or "No, I don't." And in the exam, you should follow up with an example or a reason. This could be, "Yes, I do. I especially like watching football with my friends. We often meet in a pub to watch a game on Saturday afternoons." Or, "No, I don't. I prefer playing sport myself. I find that playing basketball or tennis is much more fun than watching others play." There are times when you may be asked about something you haven't experienced. This is nothing to worry about. You have two options. First, you can explain why not. For example, have you ever had a very bad travel experience? I've never actually had a bad travel experience. Perhaps that's because I don't travel much. You see, I have a dog, a cat, and 2 goldfish. So traveling is a challenge. When we talk about these non-experiences, use the present perfect with never to start the sentence. Your other option is to talk about other similar experiences. In this case, we usually give other examples using the past simple, continuous, or perfect. As a matter of fact, I've never had a bad travel experience, although I had a terrible holiday once. I was about 15 years old and we stayed at a hotel that had no hot water and no electricity. Or, I can't recall ever having a bad travel experience. However, I remember a time when I had just finished my exams and a group of friends and I went, and so on. Most likely, your examiner will interrupt you soon after that. In part 1, there is no time to tell long stories, so try to keep your examples to a couple of sentences. Here are some useful expressions for when you haven't done something. I've never actually done that, but. As a matter of fact, I have never done that. However, I can't actually recall doing that, although you won't be asked anything that needs expert knowledge. You may be asked something you have never thought about or don't have an opinion on. However, you will lose marks for task achievement if you can't give a full, natural sounding answer. So here are some answers that are not acceptable. I don't know that. I have no idea. What? The solution is to use fillers. These expressions give you time to think and a natural part of any language. In this situation, after using a filler, you will have to give your opinion, or you can use the first or second conditional, these are sentences with if, to talk about a hypothetical, unreal situation. What would happen if parents overly encouraged their children? The first phrase is, I've never really thought about that, but perhaps their children will get stressed and start to underperform instead. Another alternative is, this is a tough one, I think. That's a tough one. I think parents who encourage their children too much are going to end up pushing them away. That's a tricky one, but in my opinion, too much of anything is bad. The children are going to get stressed, and in the end, they aren't going to thank their parents. You can also say, well, I'm not exactly sure, but maybe if parents push kids too hard, the children will just resent it. Next. Well, to be honest, that's something that I've never considered before, but if I were in this situation, I wouldn't be encouraged. I would just feel stressed. These feelers are great, but don't overuse them. If you can give a direct answer to the question, go ahead and give it. If you're using fillers, try to vary them because there are already stories about candidates beginning each answer with, this is a good question. So don't be one of them. You should also practice answering typical questions. Well, there are too many IELTS speaking topics and questions to practice answering all of them. But every IELTS speaking exam begins with one of these topics: your family, your hometown, your home, or your work studies. And preparing your answers for these topics can help you get a good, confident start. I actually have a PDF guide with common questions, my sample answers, and some useful vocabulary for these topics, and you can download it via the link in the description. Just remember that all your answers should sound natural, not memorized. Practice, learn the vocabulary, but don't learn your answers by heart. There may be times when you don't know what to say because you didn't hear or understand the examiner. He or she will be happy to repeat the question and will probably say it in a different way to help you understand. You should always use friendly English even when you're stressed, because this is part of task achievement. So don't use one-word requests like what? Repeat? Instead, say, sorry, I didn't catch that. Would you mind repeating it? Or, I wonder if you could say that again, please. Would you mind saying that again, please? If you need a specific word repeated, the examiner is probably going to paraphrase anyway. Use the following expressions. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what social media means. Or, I'm a little confused by fake news. Could you explain what that means, please? Many questions ask you if you agree or not, or if you like something or not. Saying yes is relatively straightforward. Saying no is trickier. When we say no, we need to give a polite answer and provide more information. This could be a reason, or you might want to say why you would or wouldn't like to do it. Before saying no, we often make our response softer and less direct by using these phrases. The question is, would you say your town is a good place to live? So the first word is actually. Actually, no, I wouldn't. It's a little too quiet for me. I would like to live in a place where there were more bars, cinemas, and more things to do. You can also begin by saying, as a matter of fact. As a matter of fact, I'm not too keen on my city. It's not very exciting, and I'd like to live somewhere that had more interesting career opportunities. The next one is, well, in actual fact. Well, in actual fact, it's not so good. It's too busy and there is too much going on there. I'd prefer living in a place that is quieter, greener, and offers a better work-life balance. Please note that we can use actually at the start of a sentence, like in the first example, or before the verb. For instance, well, I haven't actually lived in my current city for very long, but before moving there, I lived in... Another typical way of saying no is to use not very plus a positive adjective. This is rather than saying your city is boring and dull, you can use a positive word. Also, if you're going to say something negative, it's good to balance it with something positive or talk about how the situation could be improved. For example, what's the most interesting part of your town or village? Actually, my town isn't very interesting. It's small and most of the residents are retired. It is in a beautiful part of the country though, and all around are lovely walks and places to go and relax. Or, as a matter of fact, my town isn't too exciting, and what it needs are some better facilities for younger people, things like some lively bars and a few more cinemas and clubs. Balancing is not just a good way to be less negative, but it also means that you can extend your answers. You can also use linking words that will make your speaking more cohesive and help you get a higher band score. For instance, our question is, do you make plans every day? As a matter of fact, I don't make many plans. However, I do have a general idea of what I need to do. For example, yesterday and so on. Or, not really. I don't like making too many plans, although I have a good idea of what things I need to do on a certain day. For instance, or, no, never. But despite this, I'm very well organized. Once I went, practice using these techniques and you get better at answering unexpected IELTS speaking questions. Actually, even if you can't answer a couple of questions smoothly, try not to worry about it. Examiners assess your ability to communicate in English and not your ability to quickly come up with ideas. By the way, don't forget to download the PDF guide with questions, answers, and vocabulary for the topics used at the beginning of your exam. It's right here, and thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam. Bye!